Chapter 21: Getting Smart and Eccentric with Your Exercise. About almost any subject, there are facts everyone knows, and then there are the real ones. Ernst G. Ross. Traditional exercise programs require a commitment of at least 10 hours per week. This requirement alone accounts for much of their long term failure rate, which remember is around 95%. After all, who has that much spare time? Fortunately, scientists have discovered a smarter alternative, a safer and more potent form of exercise that unclogs you in just 10 to 20 minutes per week. How can it possibly do so much in so little time? Smarter exercise, as I like to call it, does something much different from traditional exercise. It exercises all of your muscle fibers, including a type of muscle fiber that is especially hormonally helpful and has probably never been activated in your entire life. Contrast this with traditional exercise that activates only the one least hormonally helpful type of muscle fiber. By working additional and more powerful muscle fibers, you can exercise less but smarter and create a set point lowering response that is impossible via any quantity of traditional exercise. Let's quickly compare traditional exercise with your smarter alternative. Traditional exercise is rooted in the false calorie counting theory. It aims to burn calories and is done frequently for a long time. It uses a little resistance and often leads to injury. Think jogging. On the other hand, smarter exercise is rooted in proven physiology. It aims to clear your hormonal clog and is done less frequently for a short period of time using a lot of resistance, and it's extremely safe. Smarter exercise is done as eccentric resistance training and no impact interval training, and it's one of the most exciting things I have to share with you. Not only does exercising smarter give you all the benefits that traditional exercise programs claim to provide, but it is also the only activity that has been proved to reverse aging in humans at the molecular level. Scientists at the Buck Institute for Age Research discovered that after 6 months of resistance training, the transcriptional signature of aging was markedly reversed back to that of younger levels for most genes that were affected by both age and exercise. Presented with the findings from this study, Dr. Doug McGuff, author of Body by Science, remarked, "Nothing else in human history has shown a functional reversing of age in humans at a molecular level." Best of all, smarter exercise is simple. You'll notice as you read this section that I spend a lot less time talking about exercise than I do covering nutrition. That's not because I don't value the role of exercise in a healthy lifestyle, but because exercising for long-term health and fat loss has been radically overcomplicated, and sane eating accounts for at least 90% of your long-term success. As author Tim Caulfield brilliantly states, "When you hear someone say, 'I work out so that I can eat whatever I want,' you should know that he is deluded unless A. He's training as hard as a Tour de France cyclist but doesn't care about his weight, or B. Eat what I want means an unbridled consumption of broccoli, celery, water, and air." Smarter exercise is a wonderful and required complement to a sane lifestyle. But much the way exercise cannot undo the damage done to your respiratory system by smoking, the same is true for the damage done to your metabolic system by insane foods. By focusing primarily on eating more but saner, and secondarily on exercising less but smarter, you can simplify your life while enjoying long-term results you never thought possible. New heading: Will smarter exercise make me bulky? Before you change your mind, body, and genes long term with the 6 principles of smarter exercise, Let's address the common fear that using weight resistance based exercise makes women look like men and men look like bulldogs. The best way to address this fear is to understand your biology. The level of testosterone needed to develop bulky muscles is only found in a small percentage of men. Most women have about the same level of testosterone as a 10-year-old boy. We all have a gene called GDF8, and it controls a substance called myostatin, which further regulates the amount of muscle we have and how much it develops naturally. The base levels of hormones, myostatin, and muscle in nearly all women and most men make it impossible for them to naturally build bulky muscles using any form of exercise. Think of muscle size as being like muscle speed. Few people are fast because few people have fast muscle genes. No matter how much most people run, they will never get faster than their genes allow. However, if people do have the genes for speed, they will naturally be faster than most people without even training. Similarly, few people can become bulky because few people, particularly women, have bulky muscle genes. No matter how much resistance training people do, they will never develop more muscle than their genes allow them to. As William Kramer, PhD, the editor of the Journal of Strength and Conditioning Research, tells us, women have been sold a myth of becoming big. They simply do not have the genetics. Also, keep in mind that body fat is what's bulky, not muscle. This is why some trainers tell you muscle weighs more than body fat. While muscle does not weigh more than body fat, 1 pound of muscle weighs the same as 1 pound of fat, which also weighs the same as 1 pound of feathers. Muscle does take up less space. This is why most female fitness models are about 5 feet 6 inches and weigh 140 pounds. We look at them and, judging by their size, think they weigh 110 pounds. They do not. See those toned legs? That's quite a bit of muscle taking up a little space. Far from causing problems, developing compact muscle tissue via smarter exercise is one of your most effective tools to boost health and burn body fat long term. In fact, molecular cardiologists at Boston University found that the development of the specific type of muscle fibers targeted by smarter exercise can regress obesity and resolve metabolic disorders. Notably, these researchers don't mention burning calories or working up a sweat, but rather resolving metabolic disorders. The latter is all about the long term. All those other things focus on the short term. These researchers went on to describe how these muscle fibers cleared clogs by improving insulin sensitivity and causing reductions in blood glucose, insulin, and leptin levels. Most encouragingly, they noted these effects occurred despite a reduction in physical activity. You will get more for less, and you will see that far from being too good to be true, once you understand your physiology, smarter exercise is too obvious to be false. Sidebar: laying the exercise to burn calories myth to rest once and for all. Freeing yourself from thinking about exercise in terms of burning calories isn't easy after a lifetime of incorrect information. However, it becomes easier once you learn how traditional exercise is terrible at burning calories. 30 minutes of jogging consumes only 170 more calories than you would have burned spending 30 minutes with your family and friends. To put 170 calories into perspective, your liver burns over 3 times that amount of calories per day. In other words, you would have to do 90 minutes of conventional cardiovascular exercise every day to burn as many calories as your liver does every day. 3/4 of the calories you burn daily have nothing to do with moving, let alone traditional aerobic exercise. In fact, remember the nutrient dense protein guideline? Eat 3 to 6 30 to 55 gram servings of protein per day to activate muscle protein synthesis. Researchers at the University of Illinois have found that when we eat a sane quantity and quality of protein, you can trigger the creation of about 250 grams of new tissue within your body per day. This process can cost a whopping 30% of the total calories you burn in a day, or about 540 to 720 calories. It is so calorically costly that it causes your cells to generate more mitochondria, their metabolic power plants, a reaction that was once only thought possible via intense exercise. I bring this up because it shows that even if your goal was to burn calories, simply by eating more sane, high quality protein, you would cause your body to burn more calories than any normal person ever would via aerobic exercise. As we will cover shortly, being active is wonderful for your health. You should do as much low impact restorative activity, such as walking, yoga, playing with your children, etc., as you can. However, even if we fell back into the calorie myths, traditional aerobic exercises, such as jogging, still wouldn't effectively further those misdirected goals. As Eric Oliver, PhD at the University of Chicago, tells us, for Americans to begin losing weight through traditional cardiovascular exercise, the current USDA guidelines would have to be increased by almost 200%. Americans would need to start exercising at least 2 hours per day, 6 days per week. Forget calories. Focus on hormones. Lower your set point and burn body fat forever.